Hello and welcome to Binge That Thing! Yep, you heard me right, another show on this channel. Whatever. If y'all like watching them and I like making them, then what's the problem? Okay, so you probably guessed that in this episode I'm going to be binging all the Harry Potter movies, and well, let's just see which ones I like and which ones I don't. Alright, I'm probably going to end up explaining this in every episode of this show, but to judge what film I personally like and my personal opinion on this franchise, we're going to have some factors that we can compare with. This allows us to rank them fairly, so I'm going to arrange these into 6 different categories, starting with story, because with me personally, the main thing that makes me enjoy a film or not is the story, so we gotta get that number 1 priority. Then we got technical, because you know when a movie has a dog doo-doo CGI, it can take you out of the magic that we call cinema. Another factor I'm gonna take into consideration is how stylistic the movie is. Then we got the ending, because what's better than a good ending to finish off a movie? And finally, overall enjoyment, just to round it off and give it some extra point. Wait, did I say finally? I forgot about the wild card, which is the magic factor of these movies, because this franchise, and especially this franchise, can give this weird nostalgia, childhood, whoa, magic blend feeling, Christmassy thing that's only found in these movies. So buckle up, you freaking muggle, and let's take a look at the entire Harry Potter movie franchise. Oh, and did I mention this is my personal opinion? Also, just keep in mind that this isn't my first time watching these films. I've watched them countless times, and while watching them for this video, I realised that a few of these films were probably so much better on the first viewing. So yeah, let's get on with the video and start where it all began. Oh wait, one more disclaimer before you complain in the comments. I have read the books. I've read like 4 of them and a bit, so just keep that in mind. It probably shows, I don't know, whatever. Alright, we start like all movie franchises with the first one, Harry Potter and the Philosopher's / Sorcerer's Stone, and oh boy do I love this movie. This is 2.5 hours of pure childhood wonder. It's where it all began, and just watching this movie makes it so clear why this film started a whole Harry Potter craze, which lasted a whopping 10 years. This and the Chamber of Secrets is what I like to call the itty bitty baby mummy I'm scared of the floaty man Chris Columbus era, because these 2 movies were when Chris Columbus was taking the film into like family adventure zone, and it really shows. This is your classic chosen one kid family friendly movie, but it's just got so much more, and I don't really know what, but it's got something different that makes it stand out. And I may as well throw the segment in here because I don't know where to put it, which is, although some of you may be thinking, thank God Chris Columbus wanted to spend time with his family instead of making more of these movies. Because they'll probably retain the whole family, child friendly adventure vibe for the whole franchise. And yeah, you would be kind of right in thinking that, but the books use the technique of progressively making the movies darker as they go along to keep the original audience and build a stronger fan base as the maturity of the story keeps up alongside the maturity of the audience. Now, although the books pull this off flawlessly, from what I know, like I said, I haven't finished them all, the films pull it off, well, kind of choppy, but I'll come back to that. So getting back on track, The Philosopher's Stone was such fun to watch. It was just as fun to watch now as it was when I was 8 years old. Speaking of when I was 8 years old and liked Harry Potter, I really wanted to be a wizard, so I bought round glasses as my prescription glasses, but then I thought people would laugh at me, so then I didn't wear them and significantly ruined my eyesight. Anyway, this movie was just all around a good time. The only problem I had was that the story didn't let the main characters figure stuff out for themselves, and instead would just go to Hagrid, and there he would accidentally say something which was the exact thing they needed to hear to progress the plot. But other than that, it was a joy of a film. Also, I noticed there were a lot of really goofy reaction shots that I'd never noticed before. It wasn't really a bad thing, but it was just a little stupid, so let's take a look at the numbers. Alright, starting off with the story, I'm giving this one a big 8. I want to give it higher marks, but the convenient plot thing kind of bugs me. Alright, next one. On a technical aspect, this movie gets a 7. I mean, all the practical effects were beautiful, but the troll in the dungeon. The troll in the dungeon was just a little bit goofy. And that shot when Neville falls off the broom was extra goofy. Stylistically, this movie had nothing much going for it, and it kinda hurts me, but I'm gonna have to give it a 6 on this factor. However, don't start crying yet, because in the ending department, I'll boost up the points with a solid 9. I mean, the whole Quirrell was housing Voldemort under his turban twist. It was pretty cool. But this twist makes the movie a little annoying on rewatches. And finally the wild card, which is magic, and I'm gonna give this one a big old 10, cause come on, this movie captures some weird nostalgic magic thing and it's mwah. Moving on to Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. I don't have much to say on this one because compared to Philosopher's Stone, it's pretty much just the same and a bit of an upgrade to the story. I don't know, this one just felt a bit more fleshed out, and the whole Hagrid accidentally telling them everything just for plot convenience kinda just got poofed into non-existence. I don't actually have much more to say about it. The acting was better than the previous, but if this movie was taken out of the whole franchise, I wouldn't notice. Now, I'm not saying I don't like the movie, far from it. All I'm saying is that it was a better Philosopher's Stone structure-wise and didn't go much further than that. Also, when I said Philosopher's Stone was weird with reaction shots, this movie has some weird line delivery.
Eat slugs! Training for the ballet, Potter!
But whatever, so let's take a look at the numbers. Okay, so story. As I just said, it was better, so I'm gonna give it a 9. On technical side of things, it looked so much better. The flying car, the basilisk, those freaking spiders, it all looked pretty great. Which is confusing, because this film had a lower budget than the first one. Like, how did we get these two results with 25 million less? But it still holds up, even though this movie came out in like 2002. Oh my god, this movie's 18 years old. Whoa, that's insane. That's like if you watch the entire box set of The Simpsons like 821.75 times. Okay, let's move on. Stylistically, this movie was pretty much the same as the first, so I'm just gonna give it another 6. I don't know, that might be a little harsh for both of them, but I can't change it now, can I? Shut up. Overall enjoyment, I'd give it a 9, because like I said, I don't dislike the film. If anything, it's one of the best in the whole series. For the ending, I'm going with an 8, because that whole basilisk fight thing was really cool. And finally, the wild card. On the magic level, I'm gonna go with an 8. Are you still there? Are you still interested in this video? No, don't click off, I promise, I'll speed it up. Okay, Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. The third installment and what most fans say is the best. Which, yeah, I used to agree with, but after rewatching all of them for this video, I must say, I don't think I can pick a favourite. But stick around because we're gonna see which one I rank the highest at the end. But I really like this movie, it's so good. I understand this video is gonna be pretty long and, I don't know, maybe boring to some of you. And from now on, I'll try and sum these movies up a bit faster for you, okay. So let's just skip straight to the numbers. Starting off with the story, I'm giving this one a big old 10, because the way Sirius Black is weaved into the world and then just made into one of the best characters in the whole franchise is just so good. I mean, look at this Sirius Wizard wand I got. Now ain't that cool? I also really appreciate the fact that this movie actually uses time travel properly. And yeah, the time turner kind of opens up some big plot holes for the rest of the franchise, but I always had a problem with how most time travel is used in movies, because it just doesn't make sense. But here, it kinda does. Well, basically they go back in time, but don't technically change anything because they already changed it. I don't know, I'll make a whole video on it, yeah. But this factor is why on the story side of things, this movie gets a 10. And like I said, it just works. On the technical side, it was great. The Dementors, the Boggart, everything looks so good. So big ol' 9 for that. Stylistically, oh boy, I mean, just look at this film. It's dark, it's spooky, it looks really nice, and it's just too soon. Because, like I said, the books slowly mature in themes and just overall story. But this is only the third movie, and just look at it. It looks like if insert name of dark gritty movie, and insert name of edgy film here had a baby. And although it is probably the most stylized of them all, I'm only gonna give it a 9 on that factor. Mainly because of how quick it went from itty bitty baby movie to this absolute nightmare. Just kidding, it's pretty good. For the ending, I'm giving it an 8. As yeah, the time travel was really solid, but the last act feels a little slow and repetitive because we're just reliving the scenes that we just saw. And I guess it sounds like I didn't like the ending, but again, I'm giving it an 8. That's a pretty high score. Overall enjoyment, it's gotta be a 9 because this movie is great. And finally, the wild card, the magic thing. I'm gonna leave it at a 7. Yeah, there was some cool world building and that purple bus thing was pretty sick, but it just kinda didn't capture that childhood wonder. I mean, it gave us a little peek into the Ministry of Magic, which again builds the world, but I don't know. Anyway, moving on. So, Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. I mean, I kinda love this movie, even though it's one of the weaker ones. I really like it. Goblet of Fire and the last movie fit into the "we're cool now, right" era. Because this movie is very much more mature than the first 2 installments, which again was way too soon, but doesn't take away from them being pretty good. I mean, this used to be my favourite movie from the whole franchise, mainly because of one sole reason, and that's that I like movies that have some sort of game element incorporated into them. Stuff like The Hunger Games or Battle Royale, or even that one straight to TV Tom and Jerry movie where they do the wacky race thing. I just really like that kind of story arc. I guess it's just because it's fun and goofy. I probably like it so much because of how simple it is. I mean, the plot is split up into these nice little segments and all the little stages. It's like a good linear Mario game with different levels and locations. And all that translates way too well to film. Each new trial in the Triwizard Cup thing just feels like a cool new level. So yeah, I kind of enjoy this movie. And I think I like it so much because oh my god, what is wrong with the hair? Whose idea was this? The last movie didn't look like this. There was nothing wrong with what the characters looked like in that film. Okay, let's just skip to the numbers. So the story was a big old 9 with that one. I mean, it was funny and goofy and pretty dark at times, but I'll get back to that. On the technical side of things, everything looks great, so I'll give that one a 9. Stylistically, it had some stuff going for it, so 8. For the ending, the twist was cool, and like I said, it got kinda dark. I mean, Twilight over here getting absolutely bazingaed was pretty sad, but it was also pretty funny. And I know it sounds kinda strange to say this scene was funny, but just watch the scene. Like, I mean, come on, they get back to the start of the maze where everyone's sat there watching, and Harry's literally carrying a dead guy, and everyone just starts going like, oh, it's so stupid, but it kind of ruins the tension of the scene because like you can hear the band slowly start stopping playing, and it's like, oh, it's comedy genius. Overall enjoyment, I'd give it a 7. And finally, onto the magic scale, which was pretty high, mainly because of the game thing, like I said. So yeah, 9. Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix, the start of the more slower and less story-driven movies. I remember this movie being kind of choppy, meaning it was just kind of a filler movie and didn't really have much purpose other than to set up the Dumbledore's army and the Order thing. But oh boy is it fun. The opening scene slaps you in the face with this dark, yucky feeling opening. Like just look at this. I don't like it, but I kind of do. I mean, I guess it's just the way it was color corrected. Like, looks like they're using some pretty crazy look. But this opening for the movie keeps up with that theme of being dark and gritty that was introduced at the end of the last installment when big old Segman died. This movie, like I said, is less of a classic Harry Potter story and more of a character-driven story. But oh my god, is Professor Umbridge a good villain? You thought Voldemort was good. You thought Anton Chigurh was good. Nah, bro. Umbridge all the way. The only problem I had with this movie was the stupid love story with Harry and Cho Chang. Remember the girl, Cho Chang? If you didn't remember, it's that 2 pumpkin pasties please girl. Anyway, numbers. Starting with the story, like I said, it was a little weak, but we saw a bit of fun here and there with the whole room of requirement and all the characters just kind of having fun. So I'll give it a 7 on that aspect. Now, when we get to the technical side of things, this movie just really annoyed me. Like, I mean, yeah, the spells look cool, but the movie's effects were so lazy. Compared to the last film, which looked good throughout, this movie looks total crap. Look at this scene from the previous film where Sirius contacts Harry through the fireplace. Now look at the same scene, but from this movie. It just looks like they got Gary Oldman's face and just threw a fire over it, added a little colour correction, and turned down the opacity on his face. It looks stupid. I could do that, look. Here you go, I'm doing it right now. Also, what is with that giant? It looks like PS2 graphics, like, it looks stupid. Like, it looks as good as the troll in the dungeon. Troll in the dungeon! It's a good line, that. But when I saw these effects, I was like, it's probably just because they had a lower budget on this film. No problem, it happens, you know. Maybe the last film didn't get too, you know, like, many people sitting down and watching it, so they were like, well, just bump the budget down a bit. Nope, it had the exact same budget of a whopping 150 million. So, I'm giving it a 6 for technical. That is really stupid. Stylistically, not too much, so I'll give it a 7. But the ending, ooh, I'm gonna give it a whopping 10. And I know it may be too much, but come on, Sirius died and it was super sad. He was one of my favourite characters. I mean, just look at this one that I bought. Also, we get another Harry versus Voldemort fight, then a Voldemort versus Dumbledore fight. Overall enjoyment, it gets an 8, and the magic wildcards thing gets a 6 because this movie really didn't feel like your classic nice warm Harry Potter feeling movie. And honestly, I wouldn't blame you if you class this whole franchise as Christmas movies because they're really nice and Christmassy. But this one just feels like a Sprite left out for too long. It still tastes good, but you're not getting it all. If that makes any sense. When it comes to Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince, it was the movie that me and my friends thought of as the worst, because this movie is also a filler, like the last one, to set up the last two films, with this one setting up Horcruxes and doing a way better job at the last movie than setting up that whole prophecy thing. Now, if you're upset at me saying that I didn't used to like this movie, then I think we can all admit that it kinda lacks in story. Although the more character-driven side is quite entertaining, it strays away from the classic Harry Potter Monster of the Week kind of vibe, and instead follows a more scattered path. It's a bit of a mess, but it's so entertaining. All the characters are just interacting with each other and just having their own little plot lines, Harry trying to get information from Slugworth, Ron trying to get into the Quidditch team, and just all these little bits and pieces. It's just so much fun to watch unfold. Although the whole Half-Blood Prince plotline is just pretty dry. It's probably the weakest part in the film, but yeah, it's the name of the movie. Then again, the whole Harry following Snape's instructions in the book was pretty fun to watch. Anyway, let's take a little peek at them numbers, shall we? So, story. Although I said it was a bit of a mess, I'm gonna give it an 8 because just how enjoying it was. Okay, for the technical side, it was all pretty good. Although there wasn't too much VFX, it didn't feel bad in any aspect. Also, that big practical spider looked pretty sweet. And that's why it gets an 8 for technical. Stylistically, I'm gonna have to give it another 8 because oh boy was this stylized. I didn't exactly love the direction it was going in, but it definitely packed a punch. And then the ending, ooh, the ending. It was so sad and so good, so big ol' 9 for that. For my overall enjoyment, I'd give it an 8. And on the magic level, it's gonna have to be a low little old 6, because this movie felt least like a Harry Potter movie in some ways, and it just was the least nice warm Christmassy feeling that all the other movies give. So, that's it for that movie. Okay, moving on. Now this era I like to call, do you think we could stretch this book into like 2 movies era? And they can, and they did, and it honestly kinda worked in its favour. And I understand that these last 2 movie kind of things that some franchises do don't always get the best praise, but oh my god, I really like these 2. I remember seeing them in the cinema when they came out, and I don't think I watched them fully since then, and I have no idea why not. Starting off with Deathly Hallows Part 1, this whole movie is just one big build up to some huge finale. and it all feels way more grown up, but in a good way, because like I said multiple times in this freaking video, these movies mature with the audience, and this is pretty dark. We got Hermione being all like, oh, no more parents, and Dobby being, and well, we'll get back to Dobby. A lot of these franchises split the movie into two parts, like I said, but these usually fail and feel drawn out. And yeah, this movie gets boring here and there, but I think the fact that I just watched every movie leading up to this one made it feel way more interesting. But when I think about it, yeah, this movie was mainly just the characters moping around in the woods and getting mad at each other for no reason. I mean, maybe the Horcruxes, but no reason. So I'm gonna have to give it a 6 story-wise. Technical side, it was all good. You get an 8 VFX artist, good job. Stylistically, it was a bit iffy. I mean, it felt blander than the last 2 movies, but it still had something going on, so I'll give it a 7. Now let's talk about that ending, and we got another sad one, and it perfectly sets up the next movie. Oh boy do I miss Dobby. Big old 9 for the ending. Overall enjoyment, it comes in at an 8, and on the magic side of things, we get a 7. Alright, we made it to the last movie, Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2. Like I said, I haven't seen this movie in a while, but on viewing this, I absolutely loved it. Everything just comes to an end in this perfect way, and the fact that this is part 2 really makes sense now, because pretty much the whole last 2 parts of this movie are just the Battle of Hogwarts. It's so cool. Every little part is just, ooh, so much fun to watch. I don't have too much more to say, except it's just such a great ending to everyone's story. So it gets a 9 for story. For technical reasons, it was beautiful. Every spell, all the big ogre orc looking things, all the building crumbly design, force fieldy things, just good job VFX artist, so I'll give you a 10. I'll be generous. Stylistically, it was the same as the last one, so 7. Okay, but can we talk about that ending? I really enjoyed that fight. It was just so cool to finish the war and the story as a whole, but I wish it would have ended there at Hogwarts. I'm not the biggest fan of the whole ending train scenes thing, but when you look at it in the way where it shows where the story's heading, I mean, it seems fine, but just throwing these random children into the mix is just kind of annoying. But I guess it showed us what we needed to see and gave us a nice little ending to the saga, so another 10 for that. Overall enjoyment? Well, I think you can already tell I really like this one. And yes, it's another 10. And last of all, the wild card, magic. And it's an 8. I didn't get that childhood Christmassy feeling, but I gotta say, it was pretty magical. And there you go. There's every Harry Potter film reviewed and ranked for your viewing pleasure. But what's the point in numbering all the factors? Well, let's take a look. So, doing some maths. That's right, I said maths. You didn't think there would be maths in this video, did you? So, working it out, we have the results. And in just a few short moments, we'll know what movie Jensen liked the most and the least. So get ready to comment about how wrong I am when I say, coming in at last place, we got Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix. Now, I don't hate this movie, but working out the score, this is the lowest at 74 out of 100. In 7th place, we have Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 1 with a score of 75. I mean, I like this movie. Well, I like all of them, but it fell flat on the story aspect. Okay, next coming up on the list at number 6 and 77 points is confusing because it's the Philosopher's Stone. I don't know why. I love this movie and I have no idea why it's so low. Maybe it's because I give it a low score on the stylistic points? I don't know. I honestly want to say it's probably like 3rd or even 2nd on the list, but maths doesn't lie. Anyway, coming in at number 5, we got Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince with 78 points. I mean, 5 years ago it'd probably be at the bottom, so I guess it's cool to see it higher up on my list. Number 4 is Chamber of Secrets with 80, and I mean, I'm still confused how the Philosopher's Stone was so low. And this one I felt was kind of on the same level as it, so whatever, just leave a mean comment then, I guess. Number 3 is Goblet of Fire with 85, and maybe you don't like it, but I kinda like how it's structured. And now it's time to see which one came out on top. And yes, although it is my opinion, I just rated each one of these individually, then see which one came out on top. I don't think I could really pick a favourite, but alas, we got the last two. So can I get a drum roll? And coming in at number 2, we have Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban with 87? What? Meaning number 1 is Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2? What? Okay. I like the Prisoner of Azkaban, and I probably like it more than Part 2, which means this video is kind of like meaningless, and it's like a half an hour long video that I spent like 5 weeks working on and whatever. But I honestly think that I really like Part 2 because it's just what all of them have been building up to. If I would have watched this without just binging all the other ones, then it probably wouldn't have had as much of an effect. And that's most likely why it's on top with 88 points. But it was close, you know, just 1 point off being tied first place. So just keep that in mind before you finish writing that comment. And if you're starting to hate me even more because I keep saying that I kind of like more movies differently, but I've ranked them this way, then go on over to my letterbox at Trugoy Boy to see my scores for them individually. And trust me, Philosopher's Stone is way higher. Okay, can we all just take a deep breath in? Because we did it. We finally finished reviewing all of the Harry Potter films. We completed the first episode of Binge That Thing, and oh my god, I finished writing the script. I swear it took me way too long, but this is probably one of the most fun videos I've made. That whole segment with the 3D Trugoy model was just me spending ages the past few weeks learning Blender, and I just want to say thank you so much. As I'm writing this, I don't know how entertaining this video will be, and I just want you to know how much I appreciated it that you watched this far. I'm sorry if my reviews got a little vague at the end. I watched these movies ages ago and it took so long to write this, and I'm so thankful. And to finish it all off, I want to ask you as nicely as I possibly can to please subscribe. Just think about it, like butterfly effect and all that. If one person subscribes and then that leads to another person and then that leads to a few more, then it could ultimately lead to a career or something better, I don't know. But as always, subscribe if you want. You don't have to.